What I got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I'm feeling like 100 grand.
You are listening to Inspired Insider with your host, Dr. Jeremy Wise.
Dr. Jeremy Wise here, founder of InspiredInsider.com, where I talk with inspirational entrepreneurs and leaders. Today is no different. I have Sam Moses of Socrates. They make custom socks. Sam, immediately when I saw your product and your company, I'm like, I have to have this person on. And Socrates, obviously, on the play on words, it's spelled Sockrates custom.com. And before I formally introduce you, I always like to point out other episodes people should check out of the podcast. And I'll, give a longer bio, but they've helped companies like Google, Netflix, Paramount, Coca-Cola, Disney. And it's all about giving a gift that someone's actually going to use, right? And so a previous guest, John Ruhlin, who wrote Giftology, was a great guest. He talks about the concept of giving gifts that people care about that they're going to use. And so that's a great episode related to this. Corey Quinn actually was Scorpion's chief marketing officer. He helped grow the agency from $20 million to $150 million. And their core thing when I talked to him, Sam, was gifting. They would do gifting to people, right? Who doesn't want to get a gift? And that's one of the things that he talks about. Chad Rubin, who I had on the podcast, he started Cubana, sold it, and now has a software prophecy. He always is talking about what cool swag people should get. And so I've already told him, like, you got to check out Socrates because that's you're gonna start getting that for your company. And Dan Cashel too does the same thing. And that is a great episode of how he actually stressed himself out so much that he landed in the hospital. But grew several large companies there. So check those out all on inspiredinsider.com. And this episode is brought to you by Rise 25. At Rise 25, we help businesses give to and connect to their Dream 100 relationships and partnerships. And how do we do that? We actually help you run your podcast. We're an easy button for a company to launch and run a podcast. We do the strategy, the accountability, and the full execution. Sam, we call ourselves the magic elves that work in the background to make it look easy for the host so they could just talk, develop great relationships, and actually run their business. For me, the number one thing in my life is relationships. I'm always looking at ways to give to my best relationships. And I found no better way over the past decade to profile the people and companies I most admire and share with the world what they're working on. So if you've thought about podcasting, you should. If you have questions, go to rise25.com. I'm excited to introduce Sam Moses, founder and CEO of Socrates Custom Socks. They're based in Florida, and they specialize in producing the highest quality custom socks and at the fastest turnaround time. I forgot what the saying is, Sam. It's like you can't have cheap, fast, and good, but it seems like maybe you've conquered that with Socrates. They have over 4,000 clients, and Socrates has emerged as the industry leader in the field. They have clients in the United States, Germany, France, Iceland, UK, Israel, Canada, all over. And I was mentioning some of their past clients, Google, Netflix, Starbucks, Disney, and Pepsi, Dell. I can go on and on. But Sam, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me. And I appreciate the introduction, and I'm excited to be here.
So talk just for a second. People can check out. As you're talking, I'm going to pull up the website just so people can see it, but talk about Socrates Custom Socks and what you do.
Sure. So we're Socrates, and you got it right. A lot of people call us Sockrates because it's sock and rates together, but we're definitely Socrates. My wife came up with that name. She's in advertising, and she got it. It just came to us. And the minute we heard it, we were like, we gotta work as hard as we can to get that name and to trademark that name. And we really loved it. And so what we do is we make custom socks for companies, specifically for companies. We do not sell at retail, and companies will come to us and say, I'm going to a trade show, or we're doing a big event for our employees, or I really got to get some gifts out to our customers. And they'll come to us, and what we'll do is we'll take their logo and colors, we'll design them. We have a team of designers that all they do all day is design socks. And we will then present them with some ideas of what the socks are going to look like. Now that process is called a design board, and that usually starts the conversation. And they see the socks coming alive. The goal of us when we produce socks is not to just take a logo and slap it on, but really produce a product that would actually be sold at retail, that is fashionable and that is interesting, and that somebody is actually going to wear using the colors and the brand of the company. So then we show them about 6 to 8 designs. They go back and forth and they choose between a few of them. They make some tweaks. And then from there, they will decide on the sock that they want. We then go through the process of programming the sock and
I want
producing it.
to really quickly point something out here, Sam.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to the audio, there is a video version. We're looking at the website here. And one thing I thought was unique and I love that, I just picture, most people think of dress socks, right? But you have a lot of different types. You were looking at dress socks, athletic socks, retro tube socks, wool socks. Like for me, I'm like, I want the athletic socks because I'll actually, But so anyways, keep going. But I just want to share, there's
definitely
different types of socks that people can get.
Yeah, no, you can make athletic or retro tube. The wool, those cabin socks there are very popular in the winter in northern climates. Definitely. And we can do them in all different types: ankle, knee high, no show. So it's very trendy. Like ankle athletic socks in the spring, summer are like really, really popular because everybody's going out and running and, a little bit more active. In the winter, we see the wool socks. But the key to the whole program is that it looks like a sock that you would wear and not a shameless promotion of your brand. So it's a cool looking, unique sock that is like fashionable. And that's our goal when we design it. And obviously our goal when we actually produce it is to make it the highest quality sock we can make so that somebody gets a lot of uses out of it. I always tell people we want to be top of the sock drawer, the sock that people want to pull really, really often. And having your brand in the top of somebody's sock drawer is pretty much front of mind in the morning, So there's a lot of value there. So they'll say, okay, we love number 7. We love sock 7. Let's do 500 of them. The socks come all inclusive with a label, design, delivery, everything to your door. There's no ticky-tacky fees. It's all one price based on how many you order. So if you order 1,000, it's less money than if you order 100 per pair. And basically it shows up and it's a simple process. And the goal of our marketing and our operations is for somebody at the end to say, wow, that was really easy. What I just did was super easy. And I went on with my life, and a week later, 1,000 pairs showed up for my show. We don't make this hard. We make it really easy, and we make the pricing easy, and just the entire thing. The entire process is supposed to be easy, but not only easy, but like effective. And at the end of the day, you're holding a high quality product. So that's what we do. That's all we do. Sometimes we have people coming to us. They're like, hey, can I get t-shirts? I'm sure there are great t-shirt guys out there. We're not those guys. We're just traditionally sock guys, and we do everything as it relates to socks. And we can do it very quickly and we do it very effectively,
We'll talk about the why socks in a minute, but you can see here, I know I mentioned you help a lot of big companies. But if you look at this, they even have a pricing thing here. You can play around with it. The minimum order is 100. So you don't have to be an enterprise client to use Socrates at all. And so you can see here, you can get for your design. There's a lot of stuff you can play around with on the website. So feel free to check it out here. I'd love to talk about a couple examples. Marvel being one of them. What'd you do with Marvel?
So Marvel was releasing their new movie Ironheart. And well before the release, they came to us to design a sock that was going to be given out to their kind of like vendors and partners and clients and fans, and kind of like a big release of the sock. And the sock was going to represent this TV show. And it was actually it became a very popular release sock. Would be happy to get you actually a pair. I'd love for you to actually be wearing it. I don't know if you're a Marvel guy. But it's a very cool sock that we did. And it's just really an example of a big release that used this product to really stimulate awareness of their movie or TV show, So
Chicago
That's
Med
an
2
example.
is a TV show, right?
Yeah,
I'm
Chicago
looking.
Med.
Yeah.
We do a lot of TV shows,
Yeah.
but it is important to know, and you actually made a good point. We always talk about the Googles and the Spotifys and the Microsofts and the Dells of the world, and the Chicago Meds. Okay, but we've also done lots of pairs for the average dentist. Like this, guy has a small dental practice and he gives it out to his patients, and doctors for sure, and also smaller tech companies, or so we like to say that the barrier to entry is not very large. And sometimes I always say, we're putting all those big clients on the website and people love that. But there's also a lot of people who are just, small to medium-sized businesses who also love our product. You see there, Teen Wolf, we did I'm a kid of the 80s, so I'm a big Teen Wolf fan, of course. So when we did the TV show
right
Teen
here.
Wolf,
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of cool. Yeah. Teen Wolf, they did this custom grip on the bottom. And the famous actor was, he did an Instagram post of it. So that's all really great. And yeah, we've done some really cool projects, but also we're really proud of some, just small business owners, because it really becomes powerful when you give somebody a gift, and this is like a $10 gift, like $8 to $10 gift. You really actually see how much they love the fact that you gave them a gift. It's the thought, but it's also like, hey, I'm actually going to wear this sock. I'm actually going to wear it. This actually makes a difference to me. And there are people that come back to their clients like 5 years later or 4 years later, and they're like, by the way, that sock you gave me 3 years ago or 4 years ago? I actually still wear that sock, so we are actually really impressed with how much people actually love the product and how much they actually wear it. Nobody throws it out. So right now there's a big movement, as you know, sustainability. So when you go to a trade show, how much of this stuff is ended up in the garbage? People are very sensitive to it. And I can tell you, because the perceived value of a sock is so high, they're not throwing it out. Nobody's like tossing a sock. There's just nobody would do that, right? So it doesn't end up in the landfill. People like it. And it's a really good way to communicate to your customers, hey, I appreciate you. And it's actually something people are going to wear. That's the key to the whole business. It has to be something you're going to wear. If I get a t-shirt and I'm not going to wear it, what's the point of the t-shirt, right? So I think that's the key to our business, and that's where we've seen success. The focus on design.
Yeah.
Where as much as we are producers, we're also designers. And I think that balance is very important.
Yeah, I could see if you even look at providers trust here as an example, like, you could do this very poor. I mean, someone could do this very poorly, and it's like, this looks like just like a brand that anyone would wear, right? But I don't know. It sounds to me like a bank or something, but like this looks like a trendy sock.
Yeah. We like to say it's retail ready. Like you would have seen that in a store and you could have bought it. If it's not the kind of thing you're going to buy in a store. And look, there are customers who are picky. We can't do every single sock like that. But the general idea is, if it's not a sock you're going to buy in the store, then why are we giving it away? Like, we want it to be valued. See, Corona, you would, people could buy that, like, or Mario Day, like that Mario Brothers. So, it's very interesting,
No, I like this. And then you did some work with the Miami Heat too.
Yeah, we had a really great project with the Miami Heat, where they had season ticket holders. So again, season ticket holders are people that are very high value clients to them, people that they care about a lot, and people that they're trying to communicate like, hey, you're important to us. And for the opening day of the regular season last year, they handed out to all their season ticket holders, it's a good 7,000-8,000 people, they handed them this custom sock, Miami Heat sock. And and I actually live in Florida, so I've actually seen people walking around with this sock, and they're actually like, oh, hey, look at this Miami Heat sock. And again, something that people are wearing, something that they value, athletic sock, where they're going out to play basketball in the sock. What are they thinking about? They're Miami Heat, and they're thinking about the fact that they're season ticket holders, and they're thinking of the players and the game and all this stuff. So it's very easy to connect the company to what you're wearing. If you're, how many people wear polo shirts with the company name on it? Like if you're wearing the socks with the company name on it, you do have share of mind in their brain. You know what I mean? That's just natural. It's just a natural thing.
We'll talk about the, it's all over 7-day turnaround time, which seems fast.
Yeah.
Even if I'm printing a piece of paper and sending out to
Yeah.
someone, let alone a custom sock. So I do want to talk
Yeah.
about that, and because you could have easily done longer and people
Yeah.
would probably
And it's
be
funny,
happy.
in the early days, I would take heat for it because they're like, we don't actually believe that you're going to turn this around in 7 days.
So I want to
So
talk about that, but Sam, real quick, I want to give a shout to Paul Ratner. Paul Ratner worked with the Golden State Warriors, so he should, for over 10 years, and was in their, was a senior director at their premium suite. And then he now does funding for companies at Marble Bridge Funding Group. So we'll have to have Paul send it over to whoever is managing the Golden State Premium Suites at this point. But so talk about 7-day turnaround, how you came to that.
When we first started in this industry, we noticed there were two types of players who could turn it around in about 15 days, but they had preset colors. So they showed you 30 colors. And then there were people who could do it in 40 days. And they said, in 40 days, and we can then get to a bigger pool of colors. I said to myself, wait a minute, if Coca-Cola is my customer or McDonald's, I'm not going to be able to convince Coca-Cola to change the red. That's not going to happen. Okay. So I'm like, I need to do a program where I can get their customer the sock very quickly and with unlimited colors. Okay. And that can't be done in China or Turkey just because of the way that they schedule their production. So we were at the time, I was in the business of manufacturing neckwear in Italy. I was actually a very heavy neckwear producer. And as you know, me and you now are not wearing ties, and that's
we'll talk about that, the
yeah.
pain of retail, because I know that's where this comes from. But keep
going.
going.
Yeah. So we were producing neckwear, and we were doing pretty well, and ties were going down. But then we found a producer in Italy to do our socks, who had this. It's like a small family-run business. They have about 60 to 70 machines. We use a factory in China when we have to do certain runs there, and they have 700 machines. So you can see the difference, right? And it's just a family-run business handed down from grandfather to grandson, to son to grandson, unbelievable. And they're like family, and we produced a system where we're able to get to the colors very quickly because the largest yarn producers across the street. So we're able to get to colors very quickly. So we were able to turn this around that if somebody orders on Monday, it ships from Italy on the following Monday. And then UPS delivers into the United States, East Coast, New York City, 1 day later. Can you imagine? It picks it up in Italy at 4 o'clock, and it's in New York City, 10 a.m. the next day. I mean, that's faster than me and you could probably get there and back. You know what I mean? And then to the rest of the country in 2 days. So basically, you order on Monday, and the following Wednesday, UPS is showing up at your door. So this became like an unbelievable selling tool for us and an unbelievable confidence that we had in our program. And companies came to us, and even if they weren't in a rush, they were just kind of like, I love the speed. I love the fact that I ordered today, and next week, Wednesday, I got a box showing up or 2 boxes showing up. So that really helped. And then being in Italy helped us getting into the Euro market, like UK, Germany, Switzerland, because there's nobody really providing in there. And that's all a 1-day delivery, 1-day shipping kind of thing. So there was a lot of advantages to being in Italy. But the main advantage, I would say, is the quality of the product. The quality of the product, they're super passionate about it. They're not in the business of producing a high volume garbage. That's just not who they are. They would rather produce a lower volume quality. So when we get the volume and we get the quality, it's kind of like a good marriage. And they're really appreciative. They're like family now. We go once a year. We all sit down, we eat, we drink. These guys. So. It's a good relationship, but the most important thing is the quality of the product is very high.
Talk about, I believe you have, you correct me if I'm wrong from my research, exclusivity with them.
Yes.
Talk about how you actually, because this sounds great, right? But you have exclusivity. Yeah. Talk about that relationship and how, because they could just easily go, listen, we need to diversify just as much. You're not diversifying, they're not also. How did you come to that term with the manufacturer?
So sure. So when we first started, we had no exclusivity, and they were doing jobs for other people, as they should be. As they were surviving, doing jobs for other people. That was their business. As our volume started to pick up and the business started to really grow, we noticed that So they run on a 16-hour schedule. China runs on a 24, right? 3 shifts of 8 versus 2 shifts of 8. And again, we have 60 machines. Each machine makes about 10 socks an hour. Okay, so you got a machine making 10 socks an hour. That's 160 socks a day times 60. And then we noticed that our volumes were so high that we had to go to a 24-hour schedule. So they had to bring in another shift, and they had to buy more machines. And I guess we got exclusivity because there was just no choice for them to be able to produce at the quantities that we're producing at this point. They just needed all of the machines. And there's nothing better for a sock factory, like any business really, to have all of their machines running, right? So it's kind of like, hey guys, you want the business, we love working with you, we're getting bigger. So either keep doing the other business and keep buying more machines for us, or just, give us all the machines. So they actually just started turning away business from other people, and we are filling up their machines, 60 machines, 24 hours a day. And the bulk of a good amount of that really high volume is in October, November, December, where the volumes just get out of control. And now we're going through the process of buying more sock machines, taking more space in Italy. So the growth is definitely there. But what I'm really proud about, and I think I've said this earlier, is that we're growing, but we're also keeping the quality and the client experience the same. Because I feel like in a lot of businesses, and I've had this in my past careers, you grow and then something has to give, and the quality goes down and the experience for the client goes down. I still remember the first relationships, the first 10 people who bought from me, and how special that was for me and them, because we really made their experience really exciting. So I'm like, how can I keep that the same for 300 clients a month? So it's not easy, obviously, but we got to kind of try to do that, because whether a client buys from us and we have 100 orders or 1 order, it should be that they get the same high quality experience. It's not fair that if you have a lot of volume, then the quality goes down, and that's not the way to get to a lot of volume. So it's kind of like this in your business, you kind of have to balance that.
It always wasn't that easy. Talk about some of the challenges with manufacturing, because you at one point were also heavily in China. So what were some of the challenges you experienced in the manufacturing piece?
So when we first started, we started in China, and that's just where everybody starts. I think the timelines are just so slow. The Chinese New Year backlog is very stressful. The shipping expenses from China are tremendous. The duties, the taxes. It's just a hard market to ship in. You're a small fish in a big pond, right? Like no matter how big you get, there's going to be much, much bigger players, and somehow everybody's just bigger than you. So there's no such thing as a rush. Like you can't say, hey, factory, instead of shipping it in 45 days, can you just do me a favor and ship it in 35? They're not going to, that's not really the way that they're going to do it. And they're not really set up for these custom runs of 200-300 pairs, 100 pairs, 1,000 pairs. They're really well set up, and they're really good. I mean, there's nobody better at hey, I got 50,000 pairs and I need you to put it in a boat, and you got to do that in 35, 40 days. They're the best. Nobody can top that. I mean, they are so good, and the specs are good. But when you give them 200 pairs here, and then you change the design and you give them 200 pairs, and you want very specific type of packaging, and you need it to air ship, on Monday, not Tuesday. Okay. Like when you're dealing with days like that, okay, they're not really the best, because just communication's not as good. So we had a lot of problems, like we did, and we had to rerun a lot of things, and we realized, look, that's not for us. Like we need a partner who's smaller and more like, communicative, like we can get them on the phone at any time. And somebody who just cares about a 200 pair order the same way a China factory would care about a 20,000 pair order. Like we just need that. And we built a nice business out of that. It's kind of like the War Dogs scene. War Dogs, the movie. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but they're like, we're going after the crumbs, and then there are people going after the pie, right? So in a way, even though we're serving big companies, in the sock world, it's still kind of the crumbs, because they're smaller, niche, boutique, bespoke orders. It's like making one custom suit versus making a run of suits if you're Hugo Boss. It's very different,
I want to ask kind of like an in the weeds question for a second, Sam, because I do want to get to the the origin story of and the pain that you experienced that caused you to go into the sock business, because it seems kind of random, but when you know your story, it's not so random. But before we
Yeah.
get there, I just in the question I have, there's a page here on your site that's custom sock boxes, right? So people can order, a company can order whatever 500 pairs and like, distribute them at a trade show or however they're going to distribute them. It seems like they can also do custom boxes, which holds, let's say, 2 to 5 pairs. Do they receive the boxes? Let's say they order, 500 pairs and they have 250 of these custom boxes with 2 pairs in each.
Yeah.
Do you ever ship those out if they give you a customer list, or do you ship them
Yeah.
to a fulfillment center or to the company and they ship them out separately?
So there's two options. One is that we would pack the boxes and send it to them to ship out if that's what they wanted. Or option number two is they give us their list and then we package it all up and ship it individually on their behalf, white labeled to them. So it's a full gifting option. We even have an API where their list can connect into our Salesforce. So it's very easy for them to transmit all that information. So like, for example, we did a job for a real estate agent who's a very active real estate agent. And every time we sold a house, we had the box in our fulfillment center, and then the box went out and it had 2 socks in it. And it's kind of like, oh, thank you for buying. We do it for title agencies. That's a popular one on closing. Title agencies have legalities around how much it's allowed to be. So I think their max is like $20. So they would make a box where everything is worth $20, and then they would send it out to them, to the person who closed as a gift. Obviously tech companies who have large client lists, SaaS companies, they have these kind of guys. But it's a good gift, and how do I know it's a good gift? Because we do it ourselves. We send these sock boxes to our clients, so everybody says, how do you know it's a good gift? I say, because when I send it to my client, they call me back and tell me how much they loved it. And I'm always amazed when I need somebody's address. I email them, I say, hey, I got a quick gift for you to send out. Can you send me your address? It's amazing to see how fast they reply to that email, right? So it's actually like people are excited to get gifts. People are excited to get mail, and I'm talking about physical mail. So it's kind of like it fits in well. Gifting is kind of like, and I'm sure you know a lot about this because you did that podcast with that gifting specialist, but there's a whole psychology to it. Like people love receiving things. And when they receive things, it's not that they necessarily have to feel indebted to you, but they want to work with you and they want to be around you because you thought of them and you gave them something. There's no different than my 4-year-old son. When I come home and I give him a gift, it actually might be no different. Like he psychologically feels gratitude for me giving him the gift. Now it happens to last not a long time, okay, because he's 4. But I think by adults, I think it lasts longer. And I think it builds relationships. You can't overdo it. It's like, you can't bring your wife flowers every day. It kind of overdoes it. But when you send the gift strategically,
I think she'd still be fine with that, Sam.
Yeah, somehow she'd still be fine. But you kind of feel a little weird. Okay. But
like, what'd you do
like
wrong, Sam? Tell me what you did wrong.
Yeah, there's something that I'm doing wrong. Yeah, like, no matter what, there's guilt in that. So, but when you give the gift, say once a year, twice a year, 3 times a year, whatever it is, to different people, you're going to see responses, and you're going to. I guess you probably know this. In any business, what do you want? You want to engage your clients. You want to have them engaged with you. So this is a way to engage.
What are some interesting use cases? Because you mentioned, we talk about tech companies, SaaS companies, TV shows I didn't even think of until you mentioned it. Obviously, big companies, real estate agents. You mentioned dentists. What are some other interesting types of businesses that you've seen use this? Yeah,
so we've seen a lot of sales meetings. Let's just say you bring all your, everybody's remote now. So let's just say you have 100, 200 people remote. So they put everybody together for a sales meeting. So you have 200 people. Think about it. You have 200 people together. You flew everybody in. You put them in a hotel. You're giving them food. Okay. I mean, the tremendous investment required for this. Okay. So if we can make them a nice $25 beautiful box of socks branded to the company with a nice postcard that says, we appreciate you and we're glad you're here. And when they get there, they give them the box. That's an amazing use case. Like the $20 becomes more of a talking point than the, all the food you're giving them. It's unbelievable because the food in a way is taken for granted. Of course you flew me in. Of course you have to pay for us. Of course you have to feed us. Okay. But the box is something extra. And anytime you do something extra, there's going to be feedback on that. So that's a really good use case. Now, the one, like we said, where we stock the boxes or the socks and they send them out as gifts, and that could be fully scalable. Like there are people with thousands and thousands of clients. They don't want to warehouse this stuff. And even if it's one pair, we could ship out one pair of socks, USPS, it goes out. We have another big one with Chase Bank. They gave to all their high net worth private net worth investors. So it does actually, it can be used as a gift for a high net worth client as well, because again, made in Italy, high perceived value. You walk into a store, these socks are $25, $30. We sell them custom in big runs for 10 to 12, 8 to 12. So you're getting a lot of value there, So those are kind of the use cases. And then there's also not-for-profits use it for fundraising. Like that's a big one also, where the Heart and Stroke Foundation will do a fundraiser. We'll sell them the socks at a not-for-profit rate, and then they'll go out and sell it to their donor base and everything for like $15. We give it to them for $6, $7, and all of a sudden they're making some money off of the socks, and they're getting their brand out there better.
I love it. I'm gonna have to share this. There's so many interesting use cases I had on Colt Cabana, who's a wrestler, and he's got a large audience, and he has different swag, t-shirts, figurines. I don't know if he has socks, so I'll have to let him know. He's got another thing in his swag up his sleeve. How do you stay disciplined? Because I'm sure people come to you, Sam, they're like, hey, you're already doing our socks. Can you just do it 500 t-shirts or 1,000 t-shirts or this or that? Talk about how do you stay disciplined and not, again, you probably get a lot of these requests, I imagine, right?
Yeah, we get a lot, like, because somebody wants to do 1,000 t-shirts or vests and this and that. And the bottom line is, I think we respect the fact of how hard it is to do everything right and well. And there is a t-shirt guy out there who knows as much as me in socks. So I'll kind of like give him the business because I respect the fact that it's hard to do it. It sounds easy, right? But then you get into weights of the fabric and printing different types and all this stuff. And again, socks has a whole world in that as well. So it's better for us to just give it to him because we're just going to, we kind of feel internally that if we do t-shirts, there might be headaches, and those headaches take away from our core business. And at the end of the year, if we added up all of those requests for all those extra products, probably doing an extra 10 or 15 sock projects would just make up for it anyway. So why not just focus on getting those extra, 15 to 20 projects or whatever it is. But sometimes it's hard. So what we do is we have good partners where we can hand it off to. Like, for example, if you need notebooks, like we'll give you to Denick. Denick is the top. They're like the us of socks. They're really good at notebooks, and let them do it. Like, why should we try to figure out how to do notebooks? Why don't we just give it to Denick? And then it actually comes back to help us a lot because they're like, oh, hey, Sam, they actually took care of us really well. And we love that. And by the way, I have another sock order for you, so versus like,
and they probably have clients
hey,
who could get socks also, right? It's not like exclusive.
Yeah.
People only get one thing. Usually people are getting t-shirts, notebooks, socks. So
yeah. And then Denick will pass back to us, so when the guy needs socks. But it's kind of like I've had some awkward situations when I wasn't doing this because I was so revenue focused. So I would do the notebook or something. And then there's like, hey, you really did great with socks, but the notebook, wasn't as good. We'll just use you for socks. So it just like leaves a bad taste. Like at the end of the day, they did pay for that. Why did they not get a great product? And that's just because I don't think about notebooks even for 1 minute of the day, where I think about socks every minute of the day. So I just want to focus on what I do. It is a hard thing to do. And, I went to business school and I've been talking to some of my business school colleagues that I went to business school with. And I noticed that they struggle with the same thing because your nature is to kind of like sell, right?
it's also, you want to help the customer, right? So it's like they're asking for the stuff, you want to help them out. But like you said, you're better helping them out, just sending them to someone who specializes.
Yeah. Also, we kind of are just really passionate about what we do. And then we it's hard for us to get into notebooks or pens and stuff like that. So I think we just become better at what we do. Kind of like, I think you're super focused on what you do and you do it really well, so.
So talk a little about the pain of why you started this company. And it started out of retail, which is, if anyone's been in retail, it could be painful. I mean, it's not for the faint of heart.
It's weird thing about retail. I don't know if you feel it, but it's like, it's really painful and it's the hardest business. And for some reason, everybody thinks they can do it. And for some reason, there's like, you still get an itch for it later on, which is weird. Like, I don't know if you have that, maybe not. Okay. But for me, I'm always like, and my number two in the company, she's great. She's the head of the design. She's always like, she's actually started as the manager in my store. And then she branched out to head of design because she had a design background. She went to art school, which I still say, besides meeting my wife, might be the most unbelievable thing that happened to me. That the person who headed up my whole design team after a flood was the girl running my store. Like, you know what I mean? Because it has nothing to do with each other, So, but we had trust and we really did something special there. But I think we were in retail for 10 years, selling very high-end neckwear and menswear in downtown Toronto in like the financial district, think Wall Street of Canada, And, I would come home and I'd be like, oh, Dina, my wife, we had such a good day in the store. And she'd be like, oh, great. You made some money. You guys, it's great. And I'm like, I don't know if I made money because like, it just kind of goes back into the store. like it's just like retail's tough. It just got to keep moving it in, and there's rents and there's staff, and it's very high ratios, and the profit is very slim unless you're doing tremendous volume. And this business is a lot cleaner, where we're hiring, we have designers, we have a serious payroll, but the companies are B2B, they pay up front, and then we only produce things when a sale is made. So we don't buy and then try to sell it, we sell and then produce it, right? So and you can appreciate that. So I think that flip has been great. Also, what I noticed, like we put a lot of work into our website, and to build out a store, the store that I had built was like a $300,000 store, in a little 800 square foot store, 300,000 custom millwork, this and that, and I get more compliments on my website, which costs nowhere near that, okay, than I do on a $300,000 store. So it's a tough business because you're like, you can't impress people. It's very hard to sell one tie to guy because he's kind of like, it's his own money, versus B2B where they're budgets, So it's a different conversation. And it's 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, which is also very good, So for family life, it's a good business.
What were the hours of the store?
Store hours were about 9 to 7. Now we were in the financial district, so it was only Monday to Friday. So I never had to work weekends, but Christmas season, I'm coming in, we're coming in at 6 a.m. and we're going till 10 p.m. And listen, I like the retail business. I enjoyed it, but there's a difference between being in your 20s and your 40s, I think. So I don't know if I have the energy today to open a retail store. Now I still have this dream, and my number two has to talk me off the ledge of opening Socrates stores in all these different markets. I still have a dream of that because I think these Socrates stores would do really well in these small little store, like a sock shop. But my number two is kind of like, why don't we just get into, Hudson News in the airport or something like that? So
right, like a kiosk in a Nordstrom's or something, or a kiosk somewhere.
Yeah, like versus, because there's a lot involved. This like staffing and rent, and it's just too much involved. So
a lot of overhead.
We're trying to focus again. I guess what I'm saying to you is it's the focus. We just got to focus on what we're good at and not get distracted, and then it should continue to grow over time. And we've seen growth over year 1 to year 5. So we're happy,
When did the light bulb hit you in the retail that I should just focus on socks?
So I think it was like the second order that we got. It was from the Toronto Stock Exchange, kind of like the NASDAQ. And they were upstairs and they came in, and the gentleman, the marketing director, was like, I'm going to a trade show. Can you make me 1,000 of these? And I'm like, okay. And I found some freelance designer. We designed it and we did it. And I realized like, wow, like that was a pretty smooth transaction for such a big purchase. The amount of time and effort it would take to bring in that kind of revenue on a retail, like one sock at a time there, or one tie at a time, that's pretty serious. So I was like, why don't we try to scale this? And then, fortune hit where we had this crazy flood in the store, which is like insane flood, it's a very sad moment because I saw my store go down. But I had to transition to something else because insurance is rebuilding the store. So I was like, why don't we just, I said, Becky, you know, the number two, I said, let's just focus on this. We got our website up, we started doing digital marketing, and then that's it. We just went into it, you know.
What happened with the flood?
So we're downstairs underground, and the top person above us is like this bar. It was like a brewery, and they just flooded right into us. And my store fixtures are wooden millwork, so it just gone. Like the whole store one day was gone, and large insurance claim. We rebuilt it, even more beautiful. And then again, a year later, same thing happened, and that
Wow.
was the end.
So
Yeah,
it
so we got
ruined,
two
like,
floods.
the inventory and everything in the store too, I imagine.
Full collapse. Yeah, full collapse. And then we got paid out of the inventory. They rebuilt the store for us. And then the second time it happened, we were like, this is not work. We can't live like this anymore. And at that time, by the time the second time happened, we were already doing so well online with the custom business. We were just like, you know, I think this is a sign from above. We have to
Literally.
literally from above. Yeah, literally from above,
Like,
like the water. Yeah. It's like the flood of Noah.
so someone up there is saying, get out of this business. Like, you didn't get the
Yeah,
hint on
somebody
the
up there
first
is
time
saying,
around. Like, we got to do this again to Sam so he gets the hint.
yeah. Well, it's almost like you're forced out because no insurance guy is going to insure you now, you know, so you're just out, you know. So we were out and we were happy about it. And now we work as a team together, but it's more like, you know, Zoom calls. And I have an office in Boca Raton, which I have a few workers in here. It's different. It's different, but I love the B2B. I mean, I think you're in B2B as well. And I just love the B2B where everybody talks like professionals, and it's just B2B, and they have set budgets. I love that at the end of the year that they have to use money, otherwise they lose their budget. That's such a foreign concept to me in retail. Like, imagine, like, I have to use this money or we don't get it back. It's like, okay, like, you know. So there's a lot of benefits. Listen, there's a lot of hard things also, but there's a lot of benefits, you know.
First of all, I have one last question, Sam. Thanks for sharing your journey with Socrates. I want to point people, everyone check out SocratesCustom.com. That's SOCKRATES custom.com. My last question, Sam, is just mentors, people in the industry, mentors that have helped.
Yep. So when I started my retail store, there was a gentleman from Washington, and he had 150 Benetton stores. So he was really my mentor in how to build out stores. And he's kind of like a retail guy. So I realized early on, you have to have somebody that you can go to who has a lot of expertise. So I have professional mentors like him. His name is Heracles Karabassis. I'm actually going to send him this episode afterwards. He made a huge difference in my life. He just was like, I was a young kid. I was like 26, 27 when I opened the store. And I didn't know anything. I had worked in consulting, and I had worked in market research, and I had a lot of work experience, but I didn't really know how to structure and build teams out and hire employees. That's kind of like a different animal, as you know. And then so he was really influential in my life. So actually, that's a good idea. I'm going to send it to him. And he really taught me a lot. He taught me quite a bit. And then obviously my parents have been big to me. My father, you know, is a retired professional, and I go to him for advice all the time.
Was he an entrepreneur?
But no, he's kind of like, he worked for the government, and then he worked for Mount Sinai Hospital in Toronto. So he's kind of like a accountant type, but very successful and very hardworking. You know, I always have respect for people that came to a country with nothing and built their way up, because I can't even imagine. Like, so much was given to me, so I had a starting point that was much higher. So for my father to come to a country with nothing and do what he did, to me, that's like, it's kind of like a sign of true success in a way, you know. So that's there. And then in the sock business, there's this gentleman. I'm going to send him the podcast as well. His name is Yoni Asherov, and we went to business school together. And we actually went to our first consulting job together. I still remember walking around Toronto downtown with him, and we were working in consulting like 80 hours a week or 90 hours a week, flying all over the world. And we were kind of like, maybe there's something different for us. Maybe we can make a different impact. Maybe we can have employees one day. And he went on to open up his own company, and he does very well. And we talk a lot, and we talk about those days of like, remember when we were 22 walking around downtown, and now, and I bounce a lot of ideas off of him. And you need that, because every idea that comes to my head, if I did, I guess I don't know. I don't know if I'd be very rich or very poor. I don't know how that works. Like, because there's so many ideas that come to my head that I need filtering out. So I go to him and I trust him. I also trust my wife quite a bit. I think she's a little tired of hearing about it because it's been 14 years and I have a new idea every day, So, and then the number 2 in the company, Becky, she's my VP of design. I trust her as well. And then actually conversations like this, like yourself, you have so much experience and so much people that you've met. And even before when we were speaking, just the amount of knowledge that you have, the little tidbits that you gave me earlier on, it just helps me because I'm like, as you know, as a business owner, all you think about is your business, and sometimes my 10-year-old complains a little bit because he's like, he wants to talk about his life and I'm still talking and I convert his life into a business, so he gets a little upset with that, he's like, Daddy, I don't really care about all that stuff. I just want to talk about my friends and football and I'm like, oh, right, we're not trying to monetize anything right now, So I kind of feel like my son, although it's a good thing because he gets to think as a business person, but it's a bad thing because he just doesn't want to think like that 98% of the time, So I guess I try to go through life and I listen to people. I really listen and it's really important. Everybody has something to give. So I try to do that. And even the UPS driver who delivers all my packages, who I'll be honest, that's a lot of packages. Okay. We just talk and he has some good insights on what he's seen out there. And you would think, okay, the UPS driver might not know that much, but he actually does. He actually has his own approach to things, which I like. So I try to take advice wherever I can get it. And I feel like you're probably the same, because the way that we were talking, I feel like you also you're like a sponge. You're trying to take as much as you can get,
Love it. Sam, I just want to be the first one to thank you. Everyone check out SocratesCustom.com to learn more. And when it's appropriate, order some socks. Look amazing.
Thanks.
So thanks, everyone. Thanks, Sam.
Thanks for having us.
What I got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I feel like 100 grand.